and you can relate this in probably many different ways or different careers. So it took a long time to get to that level, so I would humbly like to say that, passionately, humbly, that it is, for me, it's an art form to be able to cultivate, shape, profile these coffees, which is an endless rat race. You know, even the same bean from the same farm the next year is not going to be the same bean.
Right.
And a little secret, I mean, it's never actually the same coffee. Even, you know, behind it, it's always changing. And so it's something you really have to hone and focus in when you're roasting. And if you allow, I have a software I can plug my computer into the roaster, which does help me further get some graphing that, you know, I can really fine tune some of these roasts that make it repeatable. I roast on a cast iron drum, and it's Dietrich, so it's a really nice company, and roast about 10 pounds at a time. Right now I feel like a hamster on a wheel because we've been growing year over year.
I was going to say, how is that fitting within your demand?
Great. It was a very expensive roaster, and it was maybe bigger than what I needed at the start. But it was either A, I'm gonna have to pay someone eventually, because you don't start a business without a plan, right?
Right.
My plan was to grow,
right.
And I'm like, I'm either gonna have to pay someone to roast, and they're not gonna necessarily roast exactly like me, and that can take some time to develop and cultivate, or I can get a bigger roaster, and that should take me to this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it has, and it still will take us farther, but it just means, like where I'm at now, I'm not able to go out and do marketing as much as I would like. It's all here. And thankfully there is some organic growth as a result of that. People kind of bite the apple. It's all marketing in and of itself. But yeah, so it's always been a passion of mine. So somehow my 12, 13-year-old self dream did come true. The coffee culture to me it's more than just coffee though. I like to push that, and I could probably talk your ear off about coffee all day. But it's people, it's the community, it's this.
I see like a second segment coming in where we just sit down and we chat about the in-depth part of what you're talking about, because like everybody loves that. It's interesting coffee, but you
65% at least.
Exactly. There you go. Right. Yeah. So, and then what sets you aside from the average, and why should they be looking for Owl Eye? Do you ship?
We do. Our website, actually, it's amazing how much we are shipping without a functioning website, which is about 2 to 3 weeks out for being done.
Okay.
We wanted it to be done real well. Yeah, we're still growing in so many ways, on many different fronts. And this is going to be a big deal for us to be able to get our product out more, people that aren't local or around here.
Right.
But yeah, people have been contacting us by any means, whether it's texting, calling, sending a pigeon,
Right, whatever. Just get me that Owl Eye coffee. The name, how's the name? Where'd that come from?
Good question. I don't have a long story for that one. The kind that you would want to hear, like I was walking down a trail and owl landed on my shoulder.
That'd been incredible though,
you will be a great roaster.
I'm telling you.
So you either, when you name a business, you either name it directly kind of related to the product or not at all, right? And since coffee has been a big thing in the U.S. for quite a few years, many of those directly related names are taken, Java B-name, that kind of thing. So like, all right, I need something abstract. I was kind of inspired from the micro beer industry, and something that had to do with nature, but not like Great Lakes, such and such, like, which is very common out here in this part of the world. So how did I come up with the name? I was in my parents' living room at the time, and at that same time, my dad used to make bottles, lights out of old, unique, antique bottles, and he would sell them at craft shows, and they were really neat. Well, this particular one in the living room was a simple bottle, but it had a metal stencil of an owl over it, and its eyes were cut out like rays of the sun, and they were just really popping out at me. And so like when you're naming something, perhaps your children, if you have any, or your car or whatever, you say it out loud. Does it sound good? Does it feel good? I'm like, oh, I like coffee roast. Okay, it sounds good. It doesn't have to make sense. It's got to sound good or feel good. And then I took that to the next level. It's like, Mom, Jim, how does this sound? Don't ask why. You like that? It's good. I'm like, okay, stop right there. That's the name.
Don't tell me anymore. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so you're so detailed in the coffee that you're getting.
Right.
You're so, like, it matters where it's sourced from and local farmer and all of that. So, like, you have this owl eye for the coffee. You know what I mean?
So you had a good story for him.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I was like, we're going to go with that.
Well, no, I really mean it. That is good because I've heard a lot of different angles with this here, and I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, because that's
So-
what I get from it. As you're telling
Nice.
this story, and I heard it from him.
And if you look
The
at the eye,
importance of
there's
it.
a bean on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes sense
So
though.
you're like,
But yeah, you know,
Yeah,
you can also
like-
relate it like owls are awake all night, they're wide eyed, you know.
Oh,
Right.
It's really the only
Yeah,
kind of
that's a
cute
lot.
But
thing
you
you
gotta
can-
have a keen eye for your prey. And you gotta,
Right.
you gotta be you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah, I
you're
do.
making sure you're getting.
I'd like to
the
roll
stuff.
off that for just a quick second too. Like this is
As
where
a true entrepreneur mind would.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. I know,
So
that's what we
do.
do,
It's
so,
what we
yeah.
do. Okay, let's.
so that's kind of where I'm at now. Like there's so much coffee available right in the U.S. Well, just last year, the total harvested coffee, the amount of coffee was only 3% of the coffee globally harvested was specialty graded coffee. Now what's that? That's just a coffee that's graded at a certain score or above. It's like the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So only 3% of that. So well, out of that 3%, how much of that is actually being not diluted with commodity grade stuff, or actually being roasted as well? And if I had to put a figure on there, it's pretty dark and dreary of like palatable coffee that tells you, hey, I don't need cream in there, and I don't mess your stomach up. And this is wow, coffee tastes like that. Maybe 0.5% in our nation coffee might be like that. So if that's really dark, we'll go back to that 3% figure and say at least 97% of what's available to us as consumers is beautifully packaged garbage.
Right.
Right.
And it shows you a lot about marketing. And to roll off that farther, without going into, there's some ethical stuff in this industry about farmers and transparency that these big wealthy companies don't want you to know or to see,
Right.
because besides oil, coffee is the number one import. There's a lot of money in this industry, a lot. And so they want to push and move as much as possible. Well, these farmers unfortunately aren't making ends meet, just like garments, just like diamonds. There's a lot of relation there. I won't
Yeah.
dive too deep into that, but
Yeah, so
how do
let's
you
do
fix
that on our next segment.
Sure.
That
Yeah,
way,
we'd like to
when
hear
we
more
meet
about that,
with
for
you,
sure.
we'll coordinate a time that'll be good, and we would love to meet your wife too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then why don't we'll let you guys know when that's gonna be, and we'll take the time and we'll just talk about that, because I think that's important. And I think a lot of people, that matters to people,
Sure.
but they don't know enough about it.
Sure. And
Right.
that's why I'm here. You know, is to help educate the people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never boast and say that we have the best coffee.
Yeah.
I just want people to experience a better coffee.
So I have one quick question before we actually end our episode today. So we were sitting here saying, like, as entrepreneurs and whatever, some days are really hard, right? So tell us, every day is so easy for you, right?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. And only an entrepreneur would ask such a question, or someone who's been raised in that environment. Yes, I love this, and that does help you be able to put in those extra hours all the
Yeah.
time. It really does, and I love learning about coffee, and so that all those things really do help. But someone can be passionate about something and still have blind ambition, right?
Right.
So there's a couple things to take into account there. But no, it's very hard, because what people don't see and often talk about is the hard stuff, the stuff that makes you literally rip your hair out, and the sleepless nights.
Cry.
Yeah, cry, and the biggest scare or factor or biggest
Yeah.
potential detriment to the business of all would be losing that flame and that negativity, that
Right.
tiredness, that whatever it is that's not as positive as once you started going into your product now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then affecting everything else.
Sure.
I just read something this morning and it was talking about your mindset is your most valuable asset that you have.
Yes.
Well, what's interesting is what
It
you
really is.
both
And
just
they're
said.
going for that, by the way, these days.
Right, exactly. That's another conversation, right? Yeah.
But what you both just said, so we mentioned it earlier, being around people who are like-minded.
Mhm.
So if you bring in people who are like-minded, whether they own businesses or want to own businesses or whatever, or believe in you so fully that it doesn't matter, you're good. Right?
Yeah.
But if you bring in one negative influence into whatever you're doing, it can really
It's a wrench in the
easily-
machine.
Yes, yeah, really
That's why I
messes
really
with
want to
that.
start that Shark Tank
Yeah.
Yes.
very interesting.
Another
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but just getting
So-
like these like-minded
Yeah.
individuals all together.
Absolutely.
Just like so much fire.
So that's another
It was
thing that
amazing.
our audience is gonna learn about us as we go. You will learn so many different things about what's happening in the community
Right.
when we're doing these interviews. We're gonna throw out different things, like we've already thrown out different businesses, and now we've got the new Shark Tank event, the next one going, and so now we're gonna have another episode with you. So this is kind of
Real quick. So one of the things we also wanted to touch base in is like community involvement, especially the downtown and all of that
Yes.
stuff. So we don't have a lot of time left, but
Sure.
are you guys participating in the trick or treating, downtown trick or
So-
treating? Because I know we close at
I'm
5.
gonna give you a much bigger answer first of all.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, studying psychology and sociology, I do have a heart for the community in which we live.
good.
Very much so, and particularly I wanted to do substance abuse related stuff. So we have like a little Narcan dispensary, the first public available one out here, and I know that can kind of bring an issue to the public space, but it's a serious epidemic going on right now. But we as small businesses are the ones that are donating, first of all, to the local community, not the federal government in terms of the local football teams or the local soccer teams, the local dance teams, or what have you. We are what make it tick. One of the first big reasons why you should shop local. Number two, and
Right.
and beyond, is maybe for a later date, but yes, we do participate as much as we can. There's been times where we have missed stuff just because we are working
Yeah.
around
But you're
the clock.
doing so much, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
As
the
an
more and
entrepreneur, it's
more, I
exhausting.
feel like the more we are given, the more should be required, or the more we're capable of doing good.
Right.
But we can't wait for it to have money. We can't wait for those things to fall out of the sky.
Right.
We have to start with that mentality
Yep.
and start becoming that person today, even if the things around us aren't happening for us in that aspect, right?
Yep.
And so we try to do even as little as we can, and as we keep growing, we're gonna keep doing more and as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That impacted that really great customer service, honestly. Like we got the greatest
Leading
service the last
people
time. and the
Better than you said, like your dad with the house. Or that's him.
That
That
was
was him.
That was Caleb.
That was
Yes.
Caleb.
Yeah.
That said,
Yeah,
leave the
leaving-
place
leaving
better
things
than you
better.
found it.
Awesome.
And I
Yeah.
think that people leave here better than when they came in
I
because
believe that.
of the positive energy and the way you're encouraging them throughout their day.
I think so.
I was listening very well to the conversation you were having with the lady before.
Okay.
And like there's no way she was walking out of here not with a positive mindset.
Sure.
And so
That's a really cool
you
factor
leave
about this industry
people
especially, but I
better
guess
than you find them.
in all businesses, that should be
Yeah.
the goal in the
Should
end,
be.
right?
100%.
Customer retention.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's interesting dynamic with coffee specifically because you're seeing people every single day and you get to know them very well and you get to see their best and worst days because they're still there.
Yes.
And a lot of them, yeah, they do. They give Caleb a lot of compliments. I'm a words of affirmation guy, and so I love hearing those things.
Yeah.
And I can handle if there's anything negative too. I feel like those can be good things.
They're growing. Those help you grow.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
We have to be able to handle
Yep.
criticism.
Yep.
So.
I totally agree. We're not perfect, so. Well,
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate that. I'm so glad you had a
Absolutely.
chance to do that.
Thank you so much, and you guys good luck with everything. Even though it's kind of business topic related, this is very life applicable to everybody.
Yeah, it really is.
And so yeah, whatever we can do, we're here for.
All right. Thank you
All right.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.